Hi guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be like a pre-video to one I am working on that has really intricate color blending. And it was one that I was going to do very simply, just show you the blends, but then it started turning out really good and I wanted to develop the whole thing. But one of my subscribers who's been subscribed to me for a very long time and is a dear sweet lady sent me a question, and this was something that she wasn't going to ask in public or anything like that, and I told her I would keep her name, private. She wants to know how to blend more than two colors, a little bit more detail, and I thought that question was absolutely brilliant because, yeah, while I could do it, maybe other people are having some trouble, and I can actually see where people would have trouble. So I'm going to break it down for you guys. I picked out two colors that would normally not blend and would create mud. And I'm going to show you how to do it where you don't create the mud. Now, I want you to take a look at this egg. Now, I'm only practicing or developing the technique on this page. This is not something where I'm going for realistic or in-depth anything. I'm just picking objects and using color on them. So here's an egg, and I used Parrot Green and Peach. These two colors do not blend well together. Yet, on this paper, I got them to look good, and that would be like a way of doing like palettes where you have a group of colors that don't necessarily blend well together, but they're put on a page so that they look like they're blended and you think that they're blended, but they're really not blended. And that would be the example of the egg. Peach and Parrot Green or light aqua, I used actually these three colors. If you like that combination, I actually do. I used Parrot Green, light aqua, peach, white, and both warm and cool grays. So that's what went into this. This is a good way of also doing glowing objects because it actually looks like the egg could be glowing in some way. Peach doesn't exactly look good in the middle of the egg, obviously, but it was open space. So I'm going to demo one of the hardest ones to get to look good together, and that's your greens and your reds. Because technically your greens and your reds would turn brown, and sometimes not a pretty brown, sometimes an okay brown. If you look at like the Mona Lisa, you get up close and you look at the colors that were blended into creating the Mona Lisa, it was a lot of colors that you wouldn't necessarily think would blend well together, but it gave that Renaissance feel. And that's what was great about the Renaissance was, experimenting with colors. And let me show you how to do this, and it'll make a lot more sense. Okay, I'm going to pick any object on this page. What would be red and green in nature? And let's pick a leaf. And we'll do this leaf right there. So I'm going to start out with moss green, which would be probably an awful combination with red, or a nightmare. And I'm going to just get a first layer going on there. Very simply. A lot of the lessons that I give to you guys, they're things that I do in the moment, and kind of when you learn how to color completely, these lessons sort of come up. They're not all the time lessons. Like, you don't do anything in art all the time. It would be pretty boring if you did, but these are things that you add to what I call your repertoire, your little book of tricks that you can rely on and say, yeah, I've done this before and I've experienced this or that, and you know how to handle any sort of coloring situation. And when you get really good, nothing frightens you. There's no particular way of doing a coloring page that would become intimidating to you. So here I have the green. Now I'm going for fall colors on it. I want to add in some red. And I'm going to just add red. Now notice that I'm not touching the green per se, and I'm leaving a little space in between. Now remember, this is a very difficult color blend. I'm going to pick up my cream pencil. And I love cream for doing really difficult color blends. And we're going to examine this color and why I chose this color. Green is created by blue and yellow. Red is red on its own. It's a primary color, but it will blend into the yellow. If you are careful enough and you get in between these colors, and what I like to call buffer, you create that little buffer space in between. Watch what happens. The cream becomes sort of an in-between color, which blends nicely with the red, blends nicely with the green. And if you just hit it right, and you can blend everything up with the yellow, we're going to turn it back to its original colors in just a minute. But you get that nice and blended look. In between everything. Okay, now I can take my green pencil. You can also do it in addition to that with your white pencil too. I put the cream on, and then something about a white pencil just blends really, like the colors really nicely. But remember, white will mute some of them out. So if you get a little layer of white going in there and get it really saturated and blended nice, you can then come in with your original colors and see right here, I can bring it back to its original color. You won't see those blending lines that you would see if you went directly from the red to the green. Now this is turning out to look like one of those coleus plants, and I like that. And you just leave that little buffer space, and you can go back in with your red and get that a little darker. And I'd even go one step further with this, and I would put in a little bit of sienna brown or burnt umber. Here's some sienna brown. Because the sienna brown, okay, if you think red and green make brown, sienna brown would be one of those combinations that lead towards the red side. So by adding in just a little bit of sienna into this color palette, now I wouldn't call this a blend, I would call this a palette, because I'm not really blending these colors together. I'm just making it look as if it is. You can decrease the size of that buffer zone, and you have the same blended effect. So you can leave it on the lighter side or even move it in, because sienna would be the perfect buffer color. And then leave a peak of all three, and that looks good too. Brighten that up a little bit. I like that. So it definitely looks like a coleus. I used to have those in New York. I loved them. They were all different. Okay, here's another idea that I've had. And this was an idea that I was going to do in another picture, and I still may do it. I did a lot of spacey pictures over the last month or so. In December, I did a lot of them, so I wanted to take a little bit of a break. But what I had a picture in mind, or I still do have a picture in mind, so I might as well give out my idea in case anybody wants to use it that are into the space pictures. Got all these mushrooms on this page. Let's see another example of a transition or a buffer color. And I'm going to start out with a palette, a spacey palette, and we're going to use Cloud Blue, which I'm going to change to actually Powder Blue. Powder Blue is very close in color. Just so another tip thing. They're very close in color. Cloud Blue is a little bit more gray, where Powder Blue is a little bluer, and Powder Blue is a little darker. So I'm going to use Powder Blue, Light Aqua, Cool Gray 90, Black, Electric Blue, Diazonine Purple Hue, and Indigo Blue. Okay, so these are a lot of pencils to be blending up. And the thing with black is when you're transitioning into black, sometimes it doesn't look great if you just do an abrupt black. It just kind of is like the absolute value. So you want a really good transition, especially you want a buffer color in there. So I'm going to start with the blue, the Powder Blue, and I'm going to just get some color going. Okay. Then I'm going to start to transition it over into some light aqua. Then some electric blue. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to get my electric blue going in there. Put it in. And all of these will blend out really well. And I'm going to get my white pencil, my white, and I'm going to blend these colors out just to get soft. Okay, so we have different hues. If I go directly into my black pencil, it doesn't really look that great. It's too much of a difference. I want a much more softer glow, so I'm going to use my Indigo Blue. And I'm going to get in to there. Now this Indigo Blue is the perfect sky color for transitioning your black. It's used in almost all space pictures. Okay, and now you go in with your black. My idea with the mushrooms is to do all sorts of different galaxies on each one of the mushrooms. I'm going to find like a really good mushroom picture. I love that. Okay, when I blend it all out with the white, you see you have it's starting to happen here. Very spacey transition. Now, I can get a color in there that wouldn't necessarily be a good color that mixes with black. It just doesn't look right, and use the transition that would make it look good. You know, colors that don't blend together well don't have to touch each other. It's like me and my brother when we were little. No touching each other. But we lived good in the house. We used to beat the bejeebies out of each other when we were little. We were definitely one of those two, you know, like, he's touching me. He's touching me. I'm not touching you. That was me and my bro. We've grown up since then. Okay. Then you can go in with your white. Bring those colors even closer. Get more of your electric blue in there. Now, the one color I haven't used is my purple. So let's get a little bit of that in. Then I'm going to add another color in there that is going to throw it, and you'll see. See, these colors are easy to get matched up. I'm going to toss one in that isn't. Now, if you start getting too much black in it, switch over to your 90%, and that will transition you into the blue. I'm leaving space for that oddball color. Okay, I'm going to add in some orange. Now, everybody knows that orange and purple are mud colors. So I'm going to leave that transition. Now, orange and blue are also mud colors. I'm going to add that in. I can add in a little bit of white in between. I don't want it turning green. So I can't add in my cream. Transition it in with the white. More blue in there. Non-photo blue also works in this mix. Get out my Posca. And I've got my Nebula mushroom. One last one that I'm going to show you is a green and orange transition. I've got a couple of greens here. And this is apple green. This should be chartreuse. I've got light green. I have Spanish orange. By all means, these should be turning my picture into mud. I'm going to use a cream transition color. And let's do this flower in these colors. I can add in that Peacock Green, which is on the darkest part of the flower. Let's get that going. See, even touching a little bit, you're going to get that brown look. And I want to keep it bright. So I'm going to go in with my cream, keeping the orange and the green separate, and have a really good blend. Okay, I'll do it again. Get that Spanish orange going. And then right in there where I don't have any color, get that cream. Because this is very yellowed, this has yellowed. And there I've got no brown, no mud, but you have a green-orange transition. And one more. We got this. Don't touch the green. You can touch it a little because this has got a lot of yellow in it and it's not going to react with the green that much. And then get my cream color in between my buffer color. And if you want to brighten things up, go in again with your orange. Then if you really want to get funky, a little bit of Mahogany Red right at the tips. That reacts nicely with the orange. And then in the center, I'm going to go in with my Acrylico, just shaking it up. Going to let that dry really, really fine. That's what I love about these Acrylico. You can get the tiniest little dots. And there we got that blend. No mud. Green to red. Just as a final detail on that flower, if I was doing like a bouquet of flowers, somebody asked me about flowers too. So I want this flower to be on top of this flower. So I'm going in with my gray. And this you do on your final details. And you keep in mind, yellow does not mix with gray. They don't blend. So you can only shadow yellow. You can't blend yellow. And let's see. This seems to be on top of that one. So let's just give it a that. And there you go. Funky looking flower. Anybody for an acid trip? I hope that gave you a good idea about transitional colors and how to use palettes that don't blend well with transitional colors that will tie your colors together and make them cohesive. Next video, we're going even deeper into this, so I'll see you there. Bye-bye.